Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Oh, God. It's Susan. It's Tuesday. Hi, Suze.
Hi.
Good to have you
Lynn.
here. Yeah, here we are.
Good to be here.
That's right, sisters. So Susan said sometime yesterday before the latest news broke, what are we going to talk about? That's not a problem.
Not a
these days.
problem.
Not a
Not a
problem
problem.
these days. No, not a problem at all.
I mean, that's why I wore this T-shirt, just in case we didn't have anything to talk about.
Oh, yeah,
so that we
Susan got a
You have to
T-shirt.
see my T-shirt. It
Can
was
they
a
see
gift.
that?
Can they see it?
Kind of, yeah, but the script is small.
The script is small, but it says, it's a typewriter and it says, "Dear Pittsburgh, I love you."
Yes, it was a gift.
Yeah, it was a nice
So I
gift.
wore it.
That's
yes.
right. Okay, so, oh, good. I've lost my mail. Excuse me. I'm tired. I want to admit this. We were at an event last night where I had to interview Joel Gray, and we're just. It was a late night. And we
We stayed up very late. Yes. we
Yes,
did.
but then we stayed up watching. It was like around midnight. We were watching like CNN and MSNBC
And even Fox News.
and even Fox News because we wanted to see how they were, playing this story about the president of the United States absolutely demolishing
And it was-
highly classified information.
Code word information, but the interesting thing was their take on it, which it seemed to have more to do with net neutrality than anything else.
Well, no, this is what they weren't even talking about it. No, we turned on and it was Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about net neutrality with some guy.
He was yelling at some guy who was stupid enough to go on Fox and try and represent the
The other side.
other side.
But here is this huge breaking story. The president in the Oval Office sharing with the Russians such sensitive information that even American high-ups had not been told about it. I mean, this was so closely held information. And doing it in a Trump-like fashion of, hey, I get this real...
I get really good intel.
I
You
get
wanna hear?
really good
You wanna hear
intel,
a
you
secret?
guys. That's what it's like. It's pathetic.
You want to hear what I know? These guys come in every day and they tell me secrets. You want to hear one?
That's exactly the way it happened. And the consequences are dire. Whatever country's intel this was, one wonders if they would ever share anything else with
Well,
us
they
again.
probably won't. Because he didn't have. He keeps his latest tweets, which again he threw his people under the bus. Who went out and
Denied that
and
he
denied
said.
everything, and then he in 3:00 in the morning he starts tweeting, "I did too say it, and I have every right to say it for humanitarian reasons."
Yes, he
And,
says, as president, I wanted to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety.
Except that he didn't have the absolute right to share this because that information was given to the United States from this other source and had been
Belongs to the source.
without permission to share.
Right.
And that means with anybody. It wasn't his information to share. So, again, he's wrong.
Yeah. As usual. Unbelievable. So I have...
Oh, can we say the one other thing that we saw last night while we were watching? We were watching 4 people discuss this. 2 were...
2 were like Democratic types. 2
And
were
two
like
were-
Republican types. One of whom was, guys, John Brabender, who some of you may know because he's a Pittsburgher, and he is Santorum's PR genius, does all his ads. He's a consultant to a number of like highly right-wing Republican operatives. I happen to know him, and I have been on friendly terms with him, friendly enough that I can say to him, "You are evil. Do you realize you are evil?"
They're
And
really
you're-
good friends.
and you're doing evil. And he just like laughs. Ha, ha, ha. So John Brabender's there.
And the other one was this
Blonde babe.
blonde babe, not a line in her face, perfect hair, long, straight,
You know, look like a fox babe.
and defending them right and left. And then the other guy, what's his name?
Brabender
Brabender.
goes too far. He says, what? I can't remember.
He said, this is no different than Obama signaling, his intentions around the world. What's the difference? And then the blonde
Went
Republican
nuts?
consultant
Went
went nuts. She said, it is not. It is not. When are you going to admit that he's just a braggart who wants to show what he knows? He's 5 years old. This is inexcusable.
Well,
and-
she didn't quite say that.
She did. We rewound it to go back and listen
She called
again.
him a braggart?
She called him bragging. She said this is him in the White House bragging about what he knows.
Anyway, she turned on Trump like that. And this was one of those blonde Barbie doll Trump supporter types. Brabender, the Pittsburgher, the Santorum guy, shoved a little too far, even for her to be able to be on the same side.
No, and he didn't say a word in his. And
No,
he
he just
actually
shut up.
sort of hung his head and didn't say anything. It was, I thought it was very
No.
interesting.
Here's what happened. They ran out of time. So he was like this, knowing he'd gotten seriously pummeled. And then it was Don Lemon. Don Lemon jumped in right after her and said, We're out of time. We're out of time, but that's a Republican who just said that." And he was blown away, just in case people didn't notice what had just happened in front of their eyes.
We actually rewound it to see if we could figure out when she actually, got the truth serum in her and out came.
Okay, so this leads us to, actually, there's two pieces in today's New York Times that I think might shed some. David Brooks.
Poor David.
I agree. That's what I always think.
Poor
David.
David.
Here is a guy, started out as a conservative Republican and then became sort of a moderate Republican, and then Trump came around, and now he's like, he's walking around in sackcloth and ashes, looking for enlightenment. He's on a spiritual journey. And anyway, his piece today, wow. Can I share some with you?
Do.
Because this explains Trump in the Oval Office with the Russians, as you said,
Right.
saying, oh, guess what? I get these intel briefings every day.
I get great
Guess what?
intel.
I mean, it's not unlike, did you see him after the House passed their horrendous Trump care bill, and he shows up in the Rose Garden with all the slap-happy white Republican males around him, high-fiving, and he says at one point, he turns around and he says, "Do you guys believe it? I'm the president." Did you see that?
I can't believe I'm laughing.
No,
at that. There's absolutely nothing funny about that.
Did you guys? I'm the
He says that all the
president!
time. He says that all the time.
I can't.
I'm the president. You have a problem with it? I'm the president.
Well, Lester Holt asked him about that. Like, so you said, "I'm the president," like you couldn't believe it. And he said, well, sometimes he can't. He wakes up and thinks, what the? I'm sure he feels terror, actually. And then sometimes, well, here's what David Brooks thinks. At base, Trump is an infantilist. He's an infant.
Yes.
There are 3 tasks that most mature adults have sort of figured out by the time they're around 25. Trump has mastered none of them. Here are the three things as Brooks sees it. First, most adults have learned to sit still. But mentally, Trump is still the 7-year-old boy bouncing around the classroom. His inability to focus his attention makes it hard for him to learn and to master facts. He is ill-informed about even his own policies. He tramples his own talking points. It makes it hard to control his mouth. On an impulse, he'll promise a tax reform when his staff doesn't even know what he's talking about. Secondly, most people of drinking age have achieved some accurate sense of themselves, some internal criteria to measure their own merits and demerits. But Trump seems to need perpetual outside approval to stabilize his sense of self. So he is perpetually desperate for approval, telling heroic, fabulous tales about himself. And this is the part that said to the Russians, I get such good intel. He was trying to ingratiate himself,
Right.
to be liked, to be seen as somebody important and like me. And here's just some recent quotes from him. He told Time magazine, listen to this. He told Time magazine, in a short period of time, I understood everything there was to know about healthcare. By Trump's own account, he knows more about aircraft technology than the Navy. According to him, he invented the phrase priming the pump. Trump is not only trying to deceive others, his falsehoods are attempts to build a world in which he can feel good for an instant and comfortably deceive himself.
Yeah, we're just
Don't
watching.
you think that's true?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
we're
We're just watching the president do mental masturbation at all
That is
times.
it. That's right. Frightening. And then this, he is perpetually surprised because reality does not comport with his fantasy that he lives in. I mean, he really thought the Democrats were going to cheer him when he fired Comey.
Well, sure, because
he,
they were mad at him for what he
Right.
did to Hillary, so we should.
Okay, so the third thing that Brooks says that all adults generally get by the time of 25, but Trump hasn't. By adulthood, most people can perceive how others are thinking. For example, they learn subtle art such as false modesty, so they won't be perceived as obnoxious. So he is constantly, when he is interviewed, telling the interviewee how much people loved him or love him. And that's about the crowd sizes and the this and the need to return to those rallies. In Trump's telling, every meeting was scheduled for 15 minutes, but his guests stayed 2 hours because they just liked him so much. So, he says, that brings us to the reports that Trump told the Russians this stuff. Okay. And Brooks says, he didn't do this because he's a Russian agent. He didn't do this for any malevolent intent. He did it because he's sloppy, because he lacks all impulse control, and above all, because he is a 9-year-old boy desperate for the approval of the adults.
The only thing I have to say about that is that in that article, Brooks has now insulted both 7- and 9-year-old boys.
That's true. And I just noticed 1 minute he's a 7-year-old and he's a
Now
9-year-old.
he's 9-year-old. He grew in 2 years.
Well, that's true, but he's, yeah. No, in 6 paragraphs.
It's 6 paragraphs, right?
Okay. And then Brooks. The Russian leak story reveals another thing. The dangerousness of this hollow man. Our institutions depend on people who have enough engraved character traits to fulfill their duties. Trump's statements don't necessarily come from anywhere. They don't lead anywhere or have a permanent reality beyond his wish to be liked at any given instant. And then he quotes another reporter who says this: "We badly want to understand Trump, to grasp him. It might give us some sense of control or at least an ability to predict what he'll do next. But what if there's nothing to understand? What if there is no there? That's it.
That's it. There isn't. There is no there. And unfortunately, the shell is enough to blow up the world.
So here's another consequence of this is written by former Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence Agency about the damage Trump is doing to our national security because of what will be our inability to recruit future spies. No one's going to trust that they'll be safe.
Well, if the people of this country can elect somebody like this, I don't blame them. Mm-hmm. I mean, never, and I am going, never have I ever, whether I like the president or not, never have I ever felt that we were in such peril.
Right.
Real peril.
Real peril.
And if his excuse in his tweets that he has every right to give up classified information because he's the president. In fact, he's right. He's correct.
He has the legal right.
He has the legal right to do it. He also has the legal right to throw a bomb whenever he wants.
That's true,
or to throw a nuclear bomb whenever he wants.
That's right. Totally legal.
He has the total authority, and we rely on the fact that that impulse will be controlled by the man with the power. And what we have now is a man who proves to us
he has no impulse control at all.
He has no impulse control at all.
That's right. All right, so this former deputy CIA director says this, that, he has known many people from other countries who have, at obvious total risk to their lives, agreed to
help us.
And he says, without a doubt, they do so, not even for the money. They do it because they admire what the United States stands for. And he talks about sitting across a table from one of these incredible people who had given us a lot of raw intelligence. And he said, with tears in his eyes, he tried to explain why he was drawn to do what he was doing for the United States. And he says, it's because of the idea of America. The America that stood for justice, decency, and freedom, against tyranny and oppression and injustice. And this guy says, you hear this over and over again from the people who spy for us. They talked also about a guy who is actually he's a full-fledged member of a terrorist organization, and he's a spy for us. The same reason, and they said he hopes one day he might be able to go to the United States and pursue the American dream. And this guy's name is David Cohen. He says this: both of these men, these courageous men, romanticized America. And no doubt, the CIA officers who recruited them played on that somewhat exaggerated image of this country. But that image of the U.S. as the last best hope on earth is an enormously effective recruiting tool, not least because it has always had a ring of truth. And then he talks about, with Trump, just in the little time he's been there, with Trump, palling around with and lauding murderous autocrats, rebuffing refugees, downgrading human rights, all the stuff he's done, tarnishing the very idea that America stands for something uniquely good, is going to make it very hard, this guy says, for any CIA recruiters to get anybody on board anymore.
Well, as is giving enough information to enemies that they can be ferreted out.
Exactly right. So he says this: no one can say how many potential spies will decide that working for America is just not worth the risk. And that means intelligence that could have been collected for years to come will be lost to us. That will harm our national security. The intelligence collected from human sources is distinct and it's potent, and it is often the only way to obtain critical information. So that from a guy second up in the CIA. So here's the reality then, right, Susan? The CIA, the lifers at the CIA, the FBI, no, they want this guy out.
And I have great hope. I really do.
That they're going to do it.
That they're working on it. That the one thing that firing Comey did is really light a fire under the people at the FBI. It's not making them stop. It's making them look further and harder and faster. And I think the CIA feels the same. That they can't. If we know that he can't be trusted with that, with the nuclear codes, boy oh boy does the CIA know that he can't be trusted.
Well, here's what I wonder. Now that he's said this, why would they even
tell him anything?
Yeah, why would they brief him anymore?
I think now we're going to enter the time when fake news is what they're going to give the president. Because they can't trust him with the truth.
No,
the briefings are going to get a whole lot less top secret.
Use him as
as a source for misinformation.
Yeah,
you bet.
Yeah, use him then. Use him to give the Ruskies false information. Right. So they were saying that quite clearly what can happen here is that the Russians would have loved, whatever he told them. Apparently, he told them enough that they can connect dots and figure out
whether that it may be possible. I mean, they don't know that they absolutely can, but he gave them enough information, like the city from which the information came, that they can put together what they know about who works where and perhaps figure out who the informant is. And we don't want that. I don't know if we have to explain why, but we don't want that.
God. Incredible. Just guys, Roger just sent me something from USA Today, which is a summary of Trump's first 100 days. Roger, I don't have the, I can't.
The energy?
I can't. People have been posting things like, okay, just in the last 100 days, I can't even do the last 7 days. Because somebody was pointing out what happened in the last 7 days and how Trump trumps everything. Just when you think, okay, this has to be the... And I'm starting to wonder, really, how this does end. It ain't going to be pretty. Well, it's going to be messy. And it only happens when enough Republicans start saying, this guy's... Okay.
When enough Republicans figure out that it's bad, it's worse for their career to support him than not support him. That's what we're waiting for. We aren't waiting for them to wake up and think about the good of the country. No. We're waiting for them to wake up and figure out that they're in worse shape with them than against them. And then once one or two start fleeing, there'll be a little avalanche. Because I read someplace, and I totally agree, you do not want to be the last 20 to give them up. You want to be among the first 20.
It makes you look like
a leader,
a profile
courageous.
In courage. Yeah, bullshit. There's no profiles in courage here at all. Not a single Republican senator.
But once they start fleeing, they're gonna
So,
domino.
Who was that? Corker
Right.
Was quoted last night as saying something that sounded like he called it chaos. And
Yes.
said, so you're starting to get Republican senators saying, even fucking Mitch McConnell said something today about how I wish the president would, cut it out. Yeah, right. And he actually flat out said, we're trying to, here's why they're hanging with him. There's three things. Here's why they're hanging with him. He said, we've got work to do here. We want to do deregulation. So they want, okay.
I got to ask you, what's left to deregulate? I mean, the media's deregulated. If Sinclair News owns it all, it's deregulated. The airlines, they're deregulated.
That
What's
worked good.
still regulated?
I don't know. What is regulated? Oh, like little, what's regulated? Things like if you want a job, doing someone's nails.
That's regulated.
I mean, things like that are regulated, but anything that has to do with the big boys, that ain't regulated.
Hey, let's have a contest to see how low we can make our voices go.
Well, knowing my sister, she wouldn't have said that if she didn't think she'd win. Okay, so here's one other thing. Everybody keeps saying this isn't normal. This isn't normal. You want to tell that to young people because what do they know? This is not normal what's happening. What the president's doing is not normal. What the Congress is doing. And the fact that we talked, I think, last week, that Trump breaking so many norms is doing real damage.
Really, it's very
the
hard
presidency.
once you break something to put it together the way
That's
it
right.
was.
So-
You even if you get them out of there, even if you quick try to patch things up, we can't unlearn what we know.
That's right.
And what we know is how easy it is to break it.
And so stop and think for the next guy who, has autocratic tendencies or wants to do what Trump did, but smoothly.
Yeah,
Right?
just lacked finesse. That guy.
Yeah, total. So here's just a thought from a professor who studies authoritarianism. He's at Harvard. He says norms about political behavior, what is acceptable and what is not, are soft guardrails for democracy. In a healthy democratic system, when a politician violates important norms, other institutions push back, ensuring that the violator of the norm pays a hefty price and the guardrails stay in place and are preserved for another day. But in collapsing democracies, the opposite happens. Instead of banding together to protect those democratic norms, warring parties, warring partisans take violations by their opponents as justification for breaking other norms in response. It's a process of escalation that often begins with minor stuff and ends with a coup.
Well, and our system of checks and balances only work if the checks check.
And we have a Congress
and we
now
have
that ain't doing
collusion
it.
between two of the branches,
That's right.
and the beginning of a stacking of the third. So this is time sensitive. This stuff, we've got to turn some Republicans as fast as possible. Huh? I don't know.
I mean, we know we don't appeal.
I don't know what it's going to take.
Well, we
what
know
more
we
do
don't
they have to know.
We know we don't have to appealing to their decency or
That doesn't work.
patriotism or
That doesn't work.
Or our very democracy and foundational principles.
That doesn't work.
Appealing to their job to their
Pocketbook,
livelihood.
that doesn't work. Half of these people voted against their own interests when they voted for him. They're going to lose their health care. He ain't bringing the manufacturing jobs back, so because he can't. I mean, the world is. We aren't going to go back to burning dirty coal. So, and they know all of this. They just don't believe it. When you tell them this, they just scream at you with their fingers in their ears and fake news, fake news. Mm-hmm. You lost. Yeah, we all lost.
P.S. Oh, no, Denise. Radio Lab had a troubling podcast called Nukes. Celine said, oh, that was so good. About an Air Force major who asked the question in the 1970s, is there ever a circumstance to refuse an order by the president to launch a nuclear attack? And it cost him his career. The history of this question was fascinating and worth a lesson. Were you telling me yesterday, and it might have been an unreliable source, that they're saying that the Pentagon now is not necessarily going to follow his orders? No.
What I was reading is that there is such concern among the career people who are still left, who have not been fired, that they are not. The military is not necessarily sharing stuff with him, and they are not necessarily going to allow him the power to do things that they think are unimportant, or are wrong. So I'm, at this point, I'm with the generals.
Well, here's the thing. There are already, we know, sealed indictments.
We do know there are about 29 sealed indictments.
Naming people in the Trump administration. One of which might
have his name on it.
One of which might have his name on it.
They are back looking at his ties to
Russian
mobsters.
Yeah.
And it goes back to his times in the casino business, and we are. As I was reading through this stuff, I was very hopeful because it was suggesting that both the FBI and the CIA are carefully letting little bits of information out to prepare the American people so that they'll be willing to accept it. And by the way, about 60% of us are really willing to accept it.
God knows
they're all going down.
So this information you were seeing is there's clearly. So where is this stuff coming from? There's clearly someone high up in the FBI and in the CIA.
Well, they were just calling him today's deep throat. It's somebody that's there. It's somebody that's, and it's probably more than one somebody's in these different places. But the information is being quietly and carefully put out there, and there will be many, many more indictments.
Yeah, there will. So it's just a matter of they've got to get all their ducks in a row.
They don't want to do this too fast. They want this to work.
They want a airtight case. And believe me, this White House is going down. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there are already impeachable offenses every day. Here,
we all just saw an obstruction of justice.
Right.
When you fire the FBI director who is investigating your campaign and the people around you, whether it's necessarily investigating you or not, which by the way it is. When you fire that guy, when you admit in an interview the next night that it was your idea and you did it because of this whole, quote, made-up Russia thing, unquote, I don't know if you can come up with a better definition of obstruction of justice. That's it. I'm going to fire the guy who is responsible for this investigation because I don't want this made-up investigation to continue.
But Hillary had
emails. She did emails.
Yeah.
We're boring, Celine.
No.
Oh, she's tired. Celine's a party girl. She's out there all the time. Oh, she didn't like that.
Oh.
Celine's not a party girl.
No, but she's tired nonetheless.
She's tired. We're all tired.
We're all tired.
Okay. No. So don't look at Celine.
It's been bothering me. I'm sorry.
What was it?
A hair.
It's a white hair.
It's a white hair.
And I wear a lot of black.
Just one more, and then I'll stop. Thank you. It's just been bothering me since we
No,
sat
I'm
down.
always picking them
No,
up.
those two were getting me. Now we're done.
It seems that when I was talking to Joel Gray.
Is he doing this to
No,
you?
I was doing it. I was talking to him, and I looked down, and I saw this long white hair on my left boob. And as I'm talking to him, I picked it up and turned it off there.
The Miller girls were really...
Yeah,
we got
okay.
couth.
Yeah, we're couth. So here's this other thing. I remember before he even took the friggin' oath of office that I said the moment he takes the oath, he is already...
He's lying.
He's already an impeachable...
Right, because he lied.
Impeachable, no, because of the Emoluments clause and because he owns the Trump Hotel, which he's renting. Right. He doesn't own it. He's leasing from the United States government.
Which is against the rules. But somehow the GSA said it's not.
That's right. So I said, there's a clause in the lease. Quote, no elected official of the government of the United States shall be admitted to any share or part of this lease or to any benefit that may arise therefrom. Well, before he took the oath, the Trump Hotel, they were not doing good business because,
it cost $700 a night for the crummy room.
It was, let me tell you, at its September opening, the hotel was a loser. Its restaurant was nearly empty. Its rooms were being hawked at steep discounts. That's a blue city in New York. I mean, it was during the Obama administration, right? Nobody wanted to give Trump any money. They weren't staying there. The minute he took that oath, that Trump Hotel filled up. Foreign governments, corporate titans, lobbyists would not think of staying anywhere else. So...
Well, in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, they doubled their initiation fee to $200,000. And, how he can claim that he is not profiting off the White House. I mean, for years, people who get gifts, like if Michelle is given a gift by the wife of another country's leader, she can't keep that. She has to report it, and it goes in a room in the White House, the gift basket room. Who knows what it is?
Something. I think sometimes they're allowed.
Every once in a while, if it's not really valuable, if they give them, something
right.
for their kids, they got some videos once for their children, which they were allowed to keep. They were cartoons.
But so Trump, of course, now is an elected official leasing that federal property and making money hand over fist from it, a direct violation of the lease and a direct violation of the Constitution of the United States. But get this, just last month, it's May now, just in March, the General Services Administration, which is the governmental agency which
administers
this kind of real estate stuff, the GSA's new Trump-appointed head of the GSA declared the hotel is in full compliance with the lease.
Well, but again, that is like saying that Trump didn't disclose sources or methodology. No one said it did. No one said that.
Oh, you're talking about McMaster's coming out and saying
that the lease is not in compliance. We're talking, sure, they're living up to the lease. We're talking about whether the lease itself, with Trump now as president, is legal, which it's not. They constantly answer the question that isn't asked. And then people, because they are either ill-informed or don't listen or don't know what they're hearing, go, see, it's all fine. I mean, that's what they're saying today. He didn't do anything. He sent his own people out there. They said they were there, and he didn't do it. And, you say, no, that's actually not what they said.
I was watching Bernstein of Woodward and Bernstein on TV, and I was thinking, what? I mean, he's going, he's like apoplectic. I mean, I've heard him say, we had deep throat. He said, there are 50,
500.
100. There are so many deep throats.
They can't
right
sort through
now.
them.
There aren't enough parking garages to, hold them and to have the meetings.
We can have a deep throat convention.
Yeah, but I imagine a guy who as a young reporter starts his career with, this 2-bit break-in at the Watergate Hotel, and it takes down a president and is the hugest scandal in the country's history.
And more importantly, spawned a very successful movie.
Yeah, he got played by Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, but Woodward got played by Robert Redford.
Yeah, hey.
So, hey, Aaron.
What?
Aaron, A Morning with Patty and Selma. I'm loving this.
Yeah. Give
Is
me an ashtray and
where's that?
3 cigarettes,
Anybody
man.
got
I wouldn't mind a scotch, by the way.
No, that'd be good too. That was for those who don't know, that was a Simpsons. That's his aunts, right? That's yeah.
Who sound remarkably like
Like
us.
what?
Here, let's talk up here. Here.
Well, it's not just that; it's that they, been drinking and smoking all their lives. So, where was I?
Not all. We stopped at 3:00 this morning.
Oh God. Yeah, technically I was.
Yeah, right about
I
that.
know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God. Okay, so I was going somewhere. Where was it I was going?
Gas station. You need to go to.
No, well, that's later, right? I'm getting in my car and 7 different alarms go off.
You're out of gas. Your tire is flat. Put on your seatbelt.
Right, you're right. Something else is going. I got 3 things now that there's.
She insists that there's still gas in there.
Oh, there it is.
I'll let you all know what happens on the way home.
We're gonna be just fine. Okay, so how about a little comic relief? Can we just do that for a sec?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, this was in the Wall Street Journal the other day. I thought it was sort of funny.
I always read that for laughs.
Yeah. So, have you ever been to Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay, did you go to, where the hell is this? Hawaii Volcanoes National Park?
I didn't, but I
Okay.
do think that my husband and I know that they climbed to the rim of a volcano.
Oh, okay. So that might have been, yeah. Mm-hmm. So apparently, a lot of people who do that, they grab a...
Oh, they steal the lava rocks.
Yeah, well, sure. It's spitting stuff out constantly, so you pick up a little lava rock and you take it home as a souvenir.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Because you are cursed.
That is
You
correct.
are cursed for removing that lava rock from the volcano.
That's
It is
right.
Mother Earth that belongs right there.
It belongs to Pele, and it's called Pele's Curse. That is the volcano goddess of Hawaii's Big Island, and anyone who takes her lava off the island will be cursed.
Yeah, well, we weren't at that one because we weren't
Okay.
on the Big Island when we went to our volcano.
So anyway, a guy named Steve Pariseau took one, and he went home to California, and one of his sons began having really rather extreme behavioral difficulties, and then his marriage fell apart,
Oh, fuck with
and
Pele.
then his mother died,
Oh,
just like that. But he had that lava rock, and
not
then
funny.
he heard.
This is Lynn Cullen's idea of funny.
So he heard about Pele's curse, and he thought, Jesus God, it's cost me everything. And so he made a reservation, and he flew to Hawaii.
And drop the rock.
He brought it back, tried to find the exact place as far as he remembered, and he put it back. And things got better right away.
His mommy came back?
Yeah, no, his mother was still dead. But his son is fine. He has remarried. He's going gangbusters. And he said, I know I feel kind of silly, but I don't believe in curses, but seeing is believing. So he
A lot of people have been sending the rocks back, I have to say.
So many people have been sending the rocks back that the poor rangers who sit in the office that oversees the park, have to deal with daily shipments of rocks coming back from as far away as Australia and God knows where. Germany, Japan.
Yeah, I don't. You see, I never put rocks in my suitcase. I always think it's heavy enough.
Here, a note came with one. My girlfriend went on vacation, and she saw this big volcano. She brought me back a piece. I'm returning it because bad things have been happening. Please tell Pele we are very sorry. Oh, the ranger says, occasionally I take a look at the postage, and some of these people have paid $100 to mail one of these rocks back.
They've had really bad luck.
So, just so you know, I'm just telling any of you who might be venturing.
Any of you who routinely put rocks in your suitcase, don't.
Okay, I have one other little thing. And this has to do with a Republican who is in a very serious position now. He heads the Senate Intelligence Committee. This committee.
Committee.
What did I say, community?
You said committee.
It's close. You knew what I meant.
Oh, wait a minute.
Stop it!
It's bothering me. Okay, go ahead.
It's a wonder I have any left on my head. I should start wearing white.
You should.
So Richard. Oh, I thought you were thinking again. So Richard Burr, who heads the Senate Intelligence Committee, is a guy who hates being in the center of attention. He's a real conservative Republican, but he has comported himself relatively well with this, certainly better than the guy on the House side, Nunez.
Who sort of had to step aside.
Has he even been seen again, that nitwit?
No, he's still head of the committee, but he's not allowed to talk.
Well, they did a little profile of Burr, and there's just two cute things that I wanted to. I mean, every once in a while when you can humanize one of these guys, it helps me.
Okay.
All right. Richard Burr of North Carolina. He buys his dress shirts at Costco. He goes without socks.
I'm 2 for 2. Okay.
What? You like both of those things?
Oh, I got one of my favorite shirts I got at Costco.
You're too far from the mic.
One of my favorite shirts.
You got at Costco. Okay,
Yeah.
But his dress shirts at Costco. He goes without socks. He drives a moldering gray Volkswagen Thing convertible, known around Washington for its collage of political bumper stickers and unreliable roof. Senator John McCain has been heard to say of it, it's an assault on the senses. The car is so notorious that his fellow senator from North Carolina, Senator Tillis, said He needs to get a roof on it if he's going to ask me to ride in a snowstorm, which he has, and I did.
Okay, I like him.
Yeah, he seems likable, and here's the best. Burr's distaste for the news media is well known in Washington. On at least one occasion, he climbed out of an office window while carrying his dry cleaning to avoid reporters. And the jump, he apparently had to jump down, was a little steeper than he had thought. So he sort of hurt himself a little bit. But he had his dry cleaning, and he had not had to talk to the reporter. So that's Burr. It's just a human.
Well, didn't that happen to the guy last night that was coming out to, he thought he was leaving the meeting? Who was the one that talked to the press? Why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, yeah, that's the NSA head. That's LeMaster.
Right. McMaster.
LeMaster, McMaster, Mixmaster.
No, it's McMaster.
All
and
right.
yes, he thought he was going out a back door, and he ran into a phalanx of reporters and said, "This isn't what I meant to do." And he turned around and he went back in the door.
Hey, Susie Neff is reminding us that it's an election day, guys. And you Democrats, if you haven't figured out yet that these boring elections are not the most important ones, rouse yourselves. And I don't care what you do, but you don't vote for a single effing Republican, okay?
Go vote. Go vote. Go vote.
Susie's at my... she's in my ward. She says, oh no, she's not at my district. She's in Squirrel Hill. Only 43 voters so far. That's outrageous.
Well, Lynn's going to vote, and she hasn't been there yet.
Yeah, but...
So 44.
Linda writes, "Oh my God, you guys are even better in person. Would your sister consider moving to Pittsburgh?"
Sure.
Well, good. Susan's sort of nomadic these
I don't
days.
have
She
a...
could
I am
come.
homeless. I can be anywhere.
Chuck writes, 4 ways to get rid of Trump. Number 1, waiting until 2020 and voting him out, but that takes too long and it's too risky. Number 2, impeachment. Requires only a simple majority of the House, but requires 2/3 of the Senate. Congress doesn't need evidence of actual treason or murder to move forward with an impeachment. Practically anything can be considered a high crime or misdemeanor. Well, with this White House.
Yeah, that part we got covered.
Yeah, we got that covered. Third is the 25th Amendment. This previously obscure amendment states that, quote, the vice president and a majority of the principal officers of the cabinet can declare the president, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, in which case the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Yeah, but that's not, then it goes on. Then the president can, they can't just do a little coup d'etat like that. It gets more complicated, I think. And anyway, that gives us Pence. I don't know.
Well, it gives us Pence, who we can't stand on any number of levels, but that isn't quite as frightening.
Well, because he's not as erratic.
Yeah,
right?
because he is a grown-up. He's just a grown-up that's wrong about everything, but he is a grown-up. And that buys us a few years to get ourselves a new president.
The fourth possibility is a military coup.
No, thank you.
Or at least a refusal by military leaders to obey certain orders. I think we've already got that.
We've got that.
Yeah, there's not another way. You make him so miserable he resigns.
I would like him to spontaneously combust.
That
That's
would
possible.
be good too. That would be good.
Yeah.
What a mess that would make. Think of the pool.
Green goo
Yeah,
everywhere.
think of orange.
Orange
goo.
and yellow goo,
Think
right.
Think of the.
Well, it happened in Charles Dickens, so it must be true.
Yeah. Somebody did.
Yeah, spontaneously combust, and all that was left in the room was a little green slime down the wall.
I don't remember which book that is.
I think it was it Little Dorrit?
I don't know.
I think it might have been Little Dorrit.
Celine, Google
It might have or maybe it was Bleak House.
In what?
I think it might have been Bleak House.
Geez, and that's one of my favorite books, but I don't remember it.
Just Google who spontaneously combusted in a Charles Dickens book.
I was trying to figure out how to Google it.
That would be it. Who, in which Dickens novel did someone spontaneously combust?
Right.
We are awaiting.
Sorry, it's Bleak House.
Yay,
It's
Bleak
Bleak
House.
House.
I was right on my guess number 2.
So who is it? What's
One
the
of the
character?
bad, terrible guys.
One of the lawyers. That's a great book.
It's a great book unless you read it and decide that it's exactly what we're living in right now.
Well, it's really about the total inability of the judicial system to function.
Crook.
Character.
The character named Crook.
The brother of Mrs. Smallweed.
The brother of Mrs. Smallweed, right.
I don't remember any of it. Okay, Peter says, it's so great to see you gals together. Please make it every day.
I live in Chicago,
That'd be difficult.
It's too bad.
but I'll try and visit more often.
Okay. Oh, God.
You know, the money they pay me, though, it's a little light to be doing a lot of traveling.
Listen, the money they pay me.
She can't even put gas in her car.
I'm driving on 4 flat tires. I can't. So, oh gosh, even the county is sending out pleas about voting.
Nobody's
They say
voting, guys.
Election
Vote.
day has been relatively quiet. We have to deal with a few issues. In downtown Pittsburgh, there were a few no-shows at a polling place at the Roosevelt Arms. That means the people who have to set
Who
it
have
up.
to set it up didn't bother to show up.
That's real
Oh,
nice.
cool.
The judge of elections left the polling place to make calls to get replacements sent, which meant no one could vote at all until the judge returned. Emergency ballots were in use in Pleasant Hills, blah, blah, blah. In Wilkinsburg, the judge of elections didn't show up.
Who
And-
are these people?
I don't know. And sheriffs had to go to the person's home to get the case, I guess, that unlocked something. That polling place is now up and running. But how many people showed up to vote before they went to work, and now they don't have a chance to vote?
I don't, I mean, I was always a 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, the second that they opened poll voter. And that would have upset me.
Milton. The first thing they noticed was the smell, like someone frying rancid meat. The 2 men sat in their flat in central London, awaiting their midnight
This
appointment.
is Bleak House.
Awaiting their midnight appointment with the old alcoholic Mr. Crook, who lived downstairs. As they chatted uneasily, ominous sights and smells kept distracting them. Black soot swirled through the room. A pungent yellow grease stained the windowsill. And that smell. It goes on.
See, that's proof it could happen.
Milton, thank you. You're something. Okay. So there's this. This is the kind of story that I would have
Oh,
spent.
that's Milton.
That's Milton.
Yeah.
There's a kind of story that I would have spent. Oh my God! Celine's packing up. It's 11.
Okay, I gotta go catch a plane. Bye.
No, first we gotta get some gas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, because we ain't gonna make it to the airport.
No, we definitely ain't make it to the airport.
Oh, we gotta pick up Babu.
Yeah, we gotta pick up our mom, and then we gotta fill up tires. I can do all this. We got it covered. Okay. So, guys.
Okay, everybody think really hard about spontaneous combustion. We might be able to make it work.
Yeah, but you have to focus on Donald
We
Trump.
all have to think about Donald Trump and spontaneous combustion. Just do it.
It's like Tinkerbell.
Right.
So, okay. Suze, see, isn't this fun?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, so come to Pittsburgh more often.
Okay. Can I
Okay.
bring the dog?
Yes, as a matter of fact, somebody wanted you to bring the dog. I don't know if my cats want you to bring the dog. But anyway, we'll work it out. So, okay, guys, thanks for joining us. And vote, for God's sake, and get everybody in your orbit by the scruff of the neck and tell them to
Yeah,
vote.
go
unless
vote.
they vote Republican.
Then
And-
stay home.
Don't say boo, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.